Part 1. The Ultimatum from the Stars. The message arrived on every screen, every frequency, every channel humanity had ever used to whisper across the void. It didn't ask for permission. It simply was, carved into reality like a scar across the fabric of space itself. The transmission opened with silence, the kind that makes hearts forget to beat. Then came the voice, ancient, multitonal, resonant with the weight of civilizations turned to dust. It spoke in flawless human languages, all of them simultaneously, as if humanity's every tongue had been studied, dissected, and deemed quaint. People of Earth, we are the Hegemony Council. We have watched your species crawl from primordial waters to touch the edge of stars. We have seen you war, divide, and struggle against your own nature. You are young. You are fragile. And you are noticed. The screens flickered. Images flooded every device on the planet. Worlds burning, cities crumbling into ash, entire civilizations reduced to monuments of submission. Towering structures branded with the hegemony's sigil, populations kneeling in perfect silent rows. The message was clear. This is what defiance costs. We offer you peace. Not the peace of equals, but the peace of order. Submit your governments. Dismantle your militaries. Accept hegemony governance. In return, you will be spared. You will be preserved. Refuse, and you will join the gallery of lessons we have etched across this galaxy. A timer appeared. 72 hours. 3 days for humanity to decide whether it would kneel or die. Then the transmission ended. No negotiation, no questions. Just the countdown, ticking away on every screen from New York to New Delhi, from Shanghai to São Paulo. The world held its breath. In Geneva, the emergency session of the United Earth Council erupted into chaos. Delegates shouted over one another in a dozen languages, fear and fury bleeding through diplomatic facades. Some demanded immediate compliance. Others called for mobilization. A few simply sat in silence, staring at the images of burning worlds still seared into their minds. But in a secure bunker 3 kilometers beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Sarah Chen wasn't shouting. She was smiling. She stood before a wall of holographic displays, her weathered hands clasped behind her back, gray eyes reflecting the cold light of tactical readouts. Around her, the command staff of humanity's Deep Space Defense Initiative watched her with something between hope and terror. "Ma'am," Lieutenant Okoye's voice trembled slightly. "The Hegemony fleet. Our deep space arrays just confirmed it. 47 capital ships entering the Oort cloud. They're massive. Each one reads larger than our entire orbital defense grid combined." Chen nodded slowly, as if confirming something she'd always known. "And their formation? Standard intimidation pattern. They're taking their time, broadcasting dominance across all frequencies. They want us to see them coming." "Good." Chen turned to face her staff, and in that moment they saw something that made the fear in their chests twist into something else, something sharper. "They think we're going to panic. They think we'll fracture, argue, beg for mercy like the others did." She stepped forward, her voice dropping to something quieter, more dangerous. "Activate protocol blackout." The room went silent. Every officer in that bunker knew what those words meant. Years of preparation, decades of secrets, resources diverted from public projects into shadows and classified manifests. Entire generations of engineers, strategists, and soldiers dedicating their lives to a contingency the public never knew existed. Commander Hassan spoke carefully. "Admiral, once we initiate, there's no stopping it. The world will go dark. Communications will die. To anyone watching, it will look like we're collapsing." "It will look," Chen corrected, "like we're afraid. Let them believe it. Fear is only useful if your enemy doesn't see what's hiding behind it." She pulled up a holographic star map, and with a gesture, layers of false data peeled away like skin from bone. Beneath the public face of humanity's space infrastructure, another network revealed itself, one the hegemony had never detected, never suspected, never imagined a species this young could build. Asteroid bases that weren't mining colonies, cargo haulers that were stealth carriers, research stations hiding fabrication yards, and in the dark spaces between Mars and Jupiter, drifting in perfect silence, were shapes that made even seasoned military officers swallow hard. The Black Fleet, not gleaming white warships with humanity's proud insignia. Not vessels built to inspire hope and wonder. These were darker things, lean, predatory hulls forged in secrecy, designed with one purpose: to turn the void itself into a weapon. Magnetic accelerators that could crack moons, AI-assisted targeting systems that learned, adapted, hunted, stealth plating that drank light and gave back nothing but shadow. And every single ship was crewed by volunteers who'd trained in the dark, knowing they might never be acknowledged, never celebrated, never even known, until the moment their existence became humanity's final answer to a galaxy that demanded submission. Chen's smile faded into something colder, harder. 72 hours, she said quietly. They think they're giving us time to surrender. What they're really giving us is time to disappear. She looked at each officer in turn. Send the signal. Tell every station, every ship, every operative embedded in the outer system. Protocol blackout is active. Humanity is about to vanish, and when we reappear, we're going to teach the hegemony something they've forgotten. What's that, ma'am? Okoye asked. Admiral Sarah Chen's eyes glinted like starlight on steel. That darkness isn't empty. It's patient. Shadows strike back. The world went silent. Across Earth, lights dimmed in coordinated waves. Major cities reduced their glow to emergency levels. Satellite networks stopped broadcasting. Deep space communication arrays fell dormant. To the hegemony observers positioned at the edge of the solar system, humanity's infrastructure appeared to be collapsing in real time. Power grids failing. Orbital stations going dark. Colonies ceasing all transmissions. The alien commanders watched with satisfaction. This was the pattern they'd seen 1,000 times before. Panic, fragmentation, the desperate scramble of a species realizing it had no cards left to play. In the command chambers of the hegemony flagship Eternal Ascendant, War Shepherd Kovac studied the tactical displays with something approaching pity. The humans had lasted barely 30 hours before their civilization began to crumble. They hadn't even attempted resistance. Pathetic, he rumbled, his 4 eyes narrowing at the dimming blue world on his screens. I expected more from a species that managed nuclear fission before leaving their homeworld. They had such aggressive potential. His second-in-command, a 6-limbed tactician named Shira, tilted her head in agreement. The fear images were effective. They always are. Shall we proceed with occupation protocols? Yes, send the vanguard. 15 ships should be sufficient to... The sensor arrays screamed. Every display in the command chamber flared red simultaneously. Proximity alerts erupted across the fleet. Kolvac's translator struggled to keep pace with the overlapping warnings, but 3 words cut through the chaos with terrifying clarity. Multiple contacts detected. Impossible, Kolvac snarled. We've been monitoring this system for weeks. There's nothing out here but rocks, and the rocks moved. What had registered as asteroids tumbling through the Oort cloud suddenly shed camouflage plating like snakes shedding skin. Massive structures that had mimicked orbital debris for months now revealed their true nature. Fortress stations bristling with weapons humanity had no business possessing. Mining haulers that had drifted past hegemony patrols a dozen times suddenly split open, disgorging fighter craft that moved with predatory precision. And from the shadows between planets, where sensors insisted nothing existed, the Black Fleet emerged. They didn't charge like the warships of younger species. They didn't broadcast challenges or demands. They simply appeared, dark hulls bleeding from stealth fields. Moving in formations the hegemony's combat algorithms couldn't predict, couldn't counter, couldn't understand. Kolvac watched his tactical display dissolve into nightmare geometry. How many? He whispered. Shira's voice trembled. Scanning. War Shepherd, the numbers don't match our intelligence. We counted 12 human military vessels in this system. We're detecting 87 capital ships, 143 support craft, unknown tonnage, unknown armament. Kolvac watched his tactical display dissolve into nightmare geometry. How many? He whispered. Shira's voice trembled. Scanning. War Shepherd, the numbers don't match our intelligence. We counted 12 human military vessels in this system. We're detecting 87 capital ships, 143 support craft, unknown tonnage, unknown armament. The Eternal Ascendant shuddered as something massive streaked past, moving far too fast for its apparent size. On the view screen, Kolvac caught a glimpse of a vessel that seemed to drink light itself. A dreadnought painted in void black, its hull etched with patterns that hurt to look at directly. Then the magnetic accelerators opened fire. On Earth, in the Pacific bunker, Admiral Chen watched the battle unfold with the calm of someone who'd rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in simulation. Black Fleet actual to all units, she spoke into the command channel, her voice steady as bedrock. Execute pattern midnight. Target their command ships first. Make them blind. Across the void, humanity's hidden armada moved with surgical precision. Each Black Fleet vessel had been designed around a single philosophy. If you can't match your enemy's strength, make strength irrelevant. The hegemony warships were massive, built to intimidate and overwhelm. They relied on energy shields that could shrug off conventional weapons, hulls reinforced by technology millennia old, and living neural networks that made their ships semi-sentient predators. But humanity had studied every conflict the hegemony had ever fought. Every tactic, every assumption, every arrogant certainty born from 10,000 years of unchallenged dominance, and humans had found the gaps. Magnetic accelerators fired slugs at percentages of light speed, kinetic weapons so simple, so primitive that the hegemony's energy shields barely registered them as threats. By the time the alien systems adapted, tungsten rods were already punching through hull plating like bullets through paper. Stealth fighters swarmed hegemony cruisers, not with missiles, but with electronic warfare packages that turned the aliens' own neural networks against them. Ships began firing on their own escorts. Navigation systems reported false positions. Command ships broadcast contradictory orders in languages that shouldn't exist. And the dreadnoughts, humanity's secret masterpieces, closed the distance with impossible speed, their experimental drives warping local space in ways that made hegemony sensors scream with confusion. Lieutenant Okoye's voice cut through the command center. Ma'am, the Eternal Ascendant is attempting to withdraw. Should we pursue? Chen's expression didn't change. Negative. Let them run, but make sure they take something home with them. She nodded to Commander Hassan, who activated a pre-recorded transmission. On the bridge of the Eternal Ascendant, as alarms wailed and hull breaches multiplied, War Shepherd Kolvak received a message on the emergency diplomatic channel. Against all tactical sense, he opened it. A human face appeared, older, scarred, with eyes that held no fear, no desperation, no plea for mercy. Just cold, absolute certainty. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force to whoever survives this engagement. The recording began. You came to our home. You threatened our children. You expected us to kneel. The image shifted, showing the battle from external feeds. Hegemony ships burning, breaking, fleeing in disorder that no lesser species should have been able to inflict. We didn't build the Black Fleet to conquer. We built it so we'd never have to bow. This is your only warning. Leave our system. Tell your council what you found here. Tell them humanity doesn't surrender. Chen leaned forward and her next words burned themselves into Kolvak's memory. Tell them we're not afraid of the dark. We are the dark. And if the hegemony ever returns to Seoul, we won't just defend our home. We'll follow your ships back to yours and teach you what it means to threaten something you don't understand. The transmission ended. Kolvak sat in silence as his fleet scattered, as his crew worked desperately to seal hull breaches, as the impossible truth settled over him like a burial shroud. They hadn't attacked a primitive species. They'd cornered an apex predator that had been waiting in the shadows, hoping someone would be foolish enough to make it prove what it could do. 72 hours after the ultimatum, the hegemony fleet limped out of the Sol system, leaving behind wreckage and a message that would ripple across the galaxy. Earth does not kneel. In the Pacific bunker, Admiral Chen deactivated the command displays and allowed herself, for just a moment, to close her eyes. Around her, the command staff stood in stunned silence, still processing what they'd witnessed. Humanity hadn't just survived first contact with a galactic superpower, they'd won. Commander Hassan finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. Ma'am, what happens now? Chen opened her eyes and a small, tired smile touched her lips. Now we prepare for the real war, because the hegemony will come back, but next time they'll bring everything they have. She looked at the star map, at the vast darkness beyond their small blue world. And when they do, they're going to learn why humanity spent 10,000 years perfecting one skill above all others. What skill is that? Okoye asked. Admiral Sarah Chen's smile turned sharp. Winning fights we were never supposed to survive.